What is up, Raiders? Welcome to the channel. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. Good morning, everyone. Oh boy, we've got quite a few things to cover in today's video. Plarium just released news related to all of the Hydra changes coming to Raid Shadow Legends, most likely in the next patch. Now, they haven't really confirmed when this update will be live in-game, but just something to keep in mind. Basically, guys, we're gonna have some crazy changes. New mechanics for the Hydra clan boss, champion rebalance, that includes, of course, shield rebalance and Tranda rebalance. Now, in some ways, Tranda got a nerf for the Hydra clan boss, but she got a buff for other content. So that's actually a pretty good thing because a lot of people invested in Tranda, right? So we have a video that we're gonna watch, guys, and I'm gonna give you guys my take while we are watching this video. So let's crack on with it, and do let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.
Hey everyone, we've got a different kind of update preview for you today. We're showing off some balance changes coming to the Hydra, and a few other areas of the game. Along the way, we'll explain why we're making these changes, but here's a quick overview. The current meta is way too limiting to players who don't have specific champions in their collection. We want
So he is very right with the current meta and limited champions. So the current meta is basically Tranda, okay? That's the reality of it. Personally, I've always said before we even got into the Tranda meta, I've told them that they really need to look into it because she will be the next meta that will kind of like break the Hydra. The main thing, guys, you cannot have a champion that deals 10x time the damage of the most OP team in the game, right? The second strongest team. So it's definitely not right to have something like this in the game at that level. Come on, internet, what's happening?
Experiment with different tactics and teams, switching things up each week. Let's dive in and take a closer look at what's coming. First up, we're setting the turn limit at 1,000 turns.
So this is happening, guys. This is the best thing, okay? I'll be very honest with you guys. I don't really care about the rest as much. This is the freaking best thing ever. 1,000 turns, not 1,500. So basically, each Hydra key will save you at least 30 minutes, okay? That is massive. And I'm super pumped that Plarium actually listened to this issue and they are taking action. Probably, I've been the most vocal person in the entire community related to this topic. Reduce the Hydra count, okay? The turn limit. We have just too many turns. You don't need so many turns, right? And for whoever is worried about not being able to score, I don't know, the damage that you need for the chests, don't worry, because you're still going to be able to do it. You might have to make a couple of changes to your teams or stuff like that, but having 1,500 turns was just painful for content that is really meant to be manual, right?
Battling the Hydra can easily take over an hour, so we're aiming to cut down the time by at least half an hour. You'll now need to build teams that do damage faster, rather than teams built for a war of attrition. With a few adjustments, you'll have no problem reaching the damage numbers needed to get your usual rewards. Moving on. We're changing how the Serpent's will buff works. Most importantly, and brace yourselves folks, it now reduces damage by 100% for a newly grown Hydra head. Yep.
So now when you have a brand new Hydra head, you're going to be able to do 0 damage. So it's 100% damage reduction versus a brand new Hydra head while they have that shield on. Now there are a couple of good changes here, don't get panicked. I know when you have 2-3 Hydra heads spawning back, right? And they all have the life barrier. Is pretty annoying, the Serpent Shield rather than the life barrier. Because it takes some time to basically either allow them to take a turn or take them down. In some cases, with Tranda, you just one-shot them. With other teams, you're not really going to get to the point to one-shot them, but you can slowly pick them down with damage from hacks and stuff like this, right? So that's an interesting change. I feel like this is mainly to kind of like stop crazy champions like a Tranda to overpower the Hydra in general.
Yep, you read that right. Complete damage reduction.
Okay.
You won't be able to nuke a newly grown head straight out of the gate anymore. Hold on though, there's good news too. If 2 heads regrow at the same time, only one of them will get the Serpent's will buff.
So this is the good change. So when you have multiple heads spawning at the same time, only one will get the serpent buff, right? So the other one will be exposed. So you can just go straight for the other head and take it out. Before, we did not have something like this. So I feel like in a way, this is much better now because you can actually start dealing with the other head immediately as soon as it spawns out. You don't need to allow that head to take a turn or anything like that, you know? So I feel like while they made it more difficult to deal damage versus them, they basically kind of like stopped you from dealing damage, you can at least move to the other one. So you kind of like want to kill multiple heads at the same time, have them spawn at the same time, so one always comes without a shield.
Champions have gotten stronger since the Hydra initially reared its heads. What with Awakening, Empowerment, and Mythical Champions joining the fray. We were seeing Hydra heads nuked as soon as they rejoined the battle, even with the 75% damage reduction. So, to make the fight even, and bring back some of the challenge that's been lost due to the game's evolution, the Hydra is getting a little stronger too. We're also making changes to digestion and devouring. You know how late on in the battle your champions start getting digested on a 2-turn countdown? Well, for every subsequent time they get digested after that first 2-turn countdown, the damage you'll need to do to free your champion increases. Like with Serpent's Will, digestion and devouring lost much of its intended challenge over time.
So this is an interesting one. This will be a bit harder if you don't have enough firepower in your team. I feel like for a lot of players that were not using enemy max HP because they were using other raw damage dealers, I feel like the enemy max HP champions like Newt, maybe even an Acrisia, might be coming a bit back in play for people that are not able to work on their Great Hall, for people that are not able to build the champions with good stats to be able to deal a lot of damage with regular damage dealers, you know, because that HP bar will increase every time they devour your champions after the 2-turn count. So I feel like if you are able to kill the Hydra heads fast enough and things, you're not going to have to worry as much about having your champions devoured, right? So that's the thing. Another thing you can do is always bring in a reviver to your team and try to basically kill the champion that has the counter and dodge the devouring part. That's something that you can 100% do. Now, there is one thing in here that changed that I don't really agree with. I find it pretty unnecessary, to be honest. And I feel like a lot of you guys will be pretty pissed off for this one, more than anything else.
As more powerful champions and features were introduced, it was always meant to be one of the Hydra's key mechanics and an ever-present threat. But it became really easy to rescue allies that were being digested. So, we're bringing that fear back into digestion. Taunts won't help anymore either. The Hydra has shed its thin skin, and petty...
So this is what will get the majority of you guys pissed off. And that is the changes to the Taunt Buff. The Taunt Buff will not stop the Hydra heads from here on to devour your champions. I don't think this was an important change. I don't think it was a necessity for them to change the way Taunt works, because let's be honest, Taunt in general doesn't have that much of a use, right? Yeah, it's good in the Shogun, it's good in the Hydra. Yes, you can run it in Arena, but to be honest with you guys, I feel like the main place for the Taunt was the Hydra clan boss, and they kind of like killed that. So I'm really not a fan of this change whatsoever. Personally, I'm not using the Taunt buff, but to be honest with you guys, a lot of you are using it, and I feel like overall they made this buff pretty irrelevant now for most of the content.
Insults will no longer distract it from a delicious champion meal sat right in front of it. In short, once a champion receives the mark of the Hydra debuff, they become public enemy number 1. And Taunt isn't going to do anything about it. Taunt is a cool mechanic, but new champion combinations emerged that could totally negate the mark of the Hydra. Less cool. It's not all bad news, though. Your team's AI will now prioritize attacking the head that is digesting when you're running in auto.
So that's good. They finally changed the AI on the Hydra clan boss. Another thing that I've been probably more vocal than anyone else on it. They need to make better AI for the Hydra for auto teams, because you have a lot of champions that do dumb things. They don't target a head that devoured your champion. They target brand new heads with shields on. They put the debuffs on decapitated heads like a Geomancer, which is pretty dumb on auto. So there are still a lot of things that they do need to fix in terms of AI. but this is definitely a step in the right direction with how the champions interact with the Hydra heads when they devour your champions.
Battle mode. Teamwork makes the dream work. Exposed necks are also getting a rework. From now on, exposed necks will have a set HP value that is double the original head's HP.
So this is a very interesting one. I'm very, very curious to see how it will play out. Basically, what it means, the Hydra heads will spawn out faster, especially if you're able to deal a lot of damage. Basically, the Hydra heads will have an HP. So let's just say one of the Hydra heads will have 1 million HP. When they're decapitated, they will have 2 million HP. Now, once you break the 2 million HP, that Hydra head will instantly spawn back out. Okay? So it means that if I'm going to bring in a big champion like, let me just think, Legare Theox, or even a champion like Ninja, okay, which will deal crazy damage with a basic skill, and if I have hacks on the other Hydra heads, once I'm just going to smash one of the Hydra heads, all of them will spawn out, because I'm going to take down all of their HP. Now, there is a good thing about it here, because if they all spawn out at the same time, 2, 3, 4 of the Hydra heads, because of this reason, only one will get the shield barrier, which will allow you to quickly move on and kill the other 3. So I feel like you can definitely play some pretty nice strategies in here. Of course, I'm hoping that they will give us access to the test server, so we can test this out before it gets released, to kind of like give them a better idea, and to see, of course, if it's a massive problem or not.
Once that value reaches 0, the head will immediately regrow. With constantly regrowing Hydra heads, you'll need to think on your feet and have tactics in place for all potential scenarios. Oh, man, Hydra battles are about to get much tougher. But the changes don't stop there. We've got a few more lined up to help keep things balanced, starting with shields. Shields will now receive a cap of 1 million points. This cap is separate for shields placed by artifacts and shields placed by skills, though. So you could get up to 2 million points of shield.
So let me just quickly say something here. I'm not 100% sure how much shield we were growing before. So for a Yannica weak spell team to reach the maximum damage for Yannica, I'll be very honest, I have no idea to what amount of points we were increasing the shield. I feel like maybe it's a 50% nerf on it. I don't think it's more than that. Unless we were really growing the shield up to like 10 million or some crazy numbers like that, which honestly, I don't really think we were getting that high. I feel like it's very, very hard to know that, to be honest with you guys. It's pretty hard for me to comment on this, if it's a bad thing, if it's really, really bad, right? So I guess we're going to have to wait and try it out for a bit to see kind of like where it goes. What I can tell you, with 2 million points on the HP, the clan boss won't be an issue, okay? I really don't think you're going to be affected in clan boss unless you're running naked champions. So if you're having one of these teams that has no gear on the champions, then yeah, probably you're going to have to put gear on the champions, but you won't have issues moving forward from there, you know? So I'm very curious to see how impactful this change is. 2 million points, because you're going to have the buff from the champion and the artifact set, which combines. That's exactly how it works at the moment. So you can grow both of them individually. I'm very curious to see if it's breaking the teams, you know? Most likely they won't do this crazy damage in the Hydra clan boss, right? I feel like that was the whole idea with the shields. But once we're going to be able to kind of like have a better understanding of before and after, right? So I would strongly suggest you guys start scoring some of your keys and monitor them to kind of like see where you need to stop with the shield growth to deal the damage with Yannica. I'm now running that team personally, so it's going to be very hard for me to kind of like anticipate this, but a lot of you guys are, so a lot of you will definitely notice the difference, right?
These caps are still big enough to ensure powerful builds remain viable for taking on the Demon Lord and the Hydra, but they'll not be as game-breaking as before. And lastly, we come to everyone's favorite dwarven warrior herself, Trunda Guilt Mallet. Don't worry, we're not nerfing her into oblivion. We're we're just rebalancing some of her skills to keep her damage numbers in Hydra battles more reasonable. Starting with her default skill, Golden Mallet, Trunda will now have a 50% chance to place a stun debuff on both hits. A little up.
So now she can stun with every hit. Before she was only stunning once with both of the hits. So this is a bit of a buff here.
Great, but a neat one for PvP. Trunda's second skill, Cloak of Ages, will now ignore 50% of each target's defense on her second hit. However, the caveat here is that it will only ever be a normal hit. It's still big damage, but it won't be quite as...
So basically what they're doing here, they're gonna make the second hit, right, from the A2, the one that was super busted, ignore some of the target's defense. At the same time, that hit cannot be critical anymore. So that's where the real nerf comes to Trunda. On top of the life barrier and everything else that changed, life barrier, the serpent buff, sorry, I'm keep messing those two up. She's not going to be able to one-shot heads as soon as they spawn out anymore. And just in general, she won't be able to one-shot heads, most likely. Because if you are paying attention to the damage, I mean, on the right side, you still have a 1 million hit from Trunda. Now, I don't know what sort of stats she has on her build, to be honest with you guys. Maybe on the crazy builds, she's still going to do 1 to 2, 3 million with that extra damage, you know? Which is not bad. You can still run her in the Hydra, but she won't be the GOAT anymore. She won't be busted like she was before, you know? So, personally, I do use a Trunda team, and I'm in favor of the changes, because I feel like Trunda dominated the Hydra clan boss for just such a long period of time, and they're supposed to do this instantly, okay? The main mistake that they've done, and the main mistake that will piss off the community now, is that they took so long to do the changes, and a lot of people invested in Trunda, okay? So that is the main thing. Now, personally, I haven't bought her 5 and 6-star soul intentionally. Why? Because I knew that there is no way in hell they will keep Trunda like this. Yes, they took forever to do the changes, but I was 100% sure that there is no way in hell they will keep her as she is at the moment, right? So these are the changes for Trunda related to the Hydra. Now, the other skill actually got a buff.
As astronomical as they have been before. Forge Rhythm, Trunda's third skill, now places consistent HP burn debuffs, and both hits from this skill deal 50% more damage to enemies under a stone skin.
So now, you're gonna deal extra damage versus stone skin. I'm very, very curious to see how this will play out, right? So if you're getting the blessing that will increase the damage versus stone skin by 100%, I feel like you do have some crazy things going on with Trunda. She might be coming back in the meta for Arena. And I'm talking mainly about Live Arena. Trunda, she was one of the most powerful damage dealers ever, right? Because you were able to build her on immunity and still blow off the enemy teams. So right now, if you're giving her that blessing that will help you deal extra damage versus Stone Skin, plus her skill, I feel like she can break the Stone Skin with one hit on the nuker, and with the second, put that nuker to sleep. Okay, I feel like she will have that power. So I'm very curious to try her out. Of course, I'm not 100% sure just yet, but I'm kind of like leaning into believing that she will be powerful for that.
Shield, another neat boost to her overall kit. And finally, her passive skill now increases Trunda's attack by 5% for each stun or HP burn debuff she places on enemies. Her speed will still be increased as well, both by stun and HP burn debuffs. All in all,
so now she can be a decent burner for the Hydra clan boss, and on top of it, she will increase her own attack by 50% with every burn she's landing, which means that she's gonna be able to still put in some work in the Hydra clan boss, just nothing that will blow off all the other teams, basically. So I think she's still gonna be viable for the Hydra clan boss, just in different formats, not as before with double reset and stuff like that, and always use the A2 and things like that. So personally, I don't think it's too bad that they've changed it, to be honest with you guys. I will have to wait and do a before and after on the test server. Hopefully, we're gonna get the test server to test this out. And yeah, do a key on my main account where there are no changes, and do a key on the test server with all of the changes, right? The Hydra mechanics, the rebalance to the champions, and see how much she actually got impacted, right? It's mainly to see the damage rather than to see the entire scale of running a key with her in the old format. Because as I mentioned, I really think that the old format for Tranda is pretty dead. So having double reset and all that stuff, I don't really think is going to be as effective anymore. And one, mainly because of the mechanics that will be changed in the Hydra clan boss, right? The HP on decapitated heads, the serpent buff, right? So I feel like you're gonna have to basically incorporate her in a regular team as an extra damage dealer if you still want to use her.
Trundle isn't going anywhere. We still expect her to be an excellent choice for Hydra battles and the arena. We tested a ton of early, mid, and late game champion rosters and team composition.
So I feel like these are the changes. These are the changes after, by the looks of it, right? They've made it on auto. I mean, scoring 600 million damage is still not bad. But I just don't think she's going to be enough as the main damage dealer. Especially with the way the devouring works now, you know?
Positions when making these changes. Our results showed things will get better. You'll still be able to earn Hydra chests and milestone rewards in Hydra Clash. And you'll spend less time fighting the Hydra each week. As always, we'll be keeping an eye on your feedback and monitoring game data to see how these changes affect Hydra battles overall.
You see, so we still got 1 million there, non-crit. So it's still pretty good damage, actually. You can still one-shot the heads. You can still one-shot the heads with her. But that's good, guys. So, look, I know a lot of you guys might get a bit pissed off on this, but you really need to be rational about the whole Tranda topic. Was way too powerful, guys. And I really need you guys to basically understand this rather than be pissed off that they've changed it. Yes, you have all the right to be pissed off because they took ages to do it, okay? They took ages to do these changes. But it seems like you can still use her, and maybe I was wrong. Maybe you can still use the old format if she deals 1, 2, 3 million damage with good builds, you know? So I guess we're gonna have to basically wait for this to be either live in game on the test server to really try it out and judge it after, you know? But that was all for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think about the changes to the mechanics? Some of them might be a bit too hardcore, but we're gonna have to basically play it out and see for ourselves. And what do you think about the changes to Tranda, to Shield? I feel like the Shield still looks decent, but as I mentioned, I'm not sure how much we were increasing the Shield before, to what amount of points, right? Much love, appreciate all of you guys watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.